They weren't supposed to be awake. They weren't supposed to be standing still like that. And they definitely weren't supposed to all be looking at me. If you ever see your neighbor standing outside at 2:44 a.m., don't make eye contact. Had just gotten off a red-eye coding sprint, slouched in my chair, sore-eyed and caffeinated into nausea. My one-bedroom apartment in the edge of Glenridge was never quiet. Thin walls, barking dogs, drunk couples shouting through the vents. But that night, a strange kind of silence had settled over the block, like someone had thrown a glass dome over the entire street. It was that thick kind of quiet that makes your ears ring, like your body knows something's wrong before your brain catches up. I wasn't even looking out a window at first. I was just stretching, walking to the kitchen to heat up stale leftovers, when I noticed the flickering movement of porch lights, synchronized, almost rhythmic, casting long, strange shadows through the blinds. I should have ignored it. Should have gone back to my chair, slapped on a podcast, and drowned in mediocrity like any normal burnout would. But curiosity, as always, itches at the wrong time. I walked over to the blinds and peeled one down with 2 fingers. The street outside was lined with people. Every neighbor I could see. Mr. Kelman from 204, the old twins who never answered the door, the babysitter who always wore the green windbreaker. They were all standing motionless on their lawns facing the street. Not talking, not moving, just there. Their arms hung limp, their faces slack, but their eyes, God, their eyes were open, unblinking, glassy. I checked my phone. 2:44 a.m. What the hell was this? I took a step back, my heart thumping now. Maybe it was a prank? Some bizarre TikTok challenge? A neighborhood-wide flash mob gone off script? That would have been almost comforting. But no one was filming. No one had a phone out. No one even twitched. And the worst part? When I moved, just barely touched the curtain. About 5 of them, including Kelman, slowly turned their heads toward my window in perfect unison. I stumbled back, heart hammering, curtain snapping shut. That's when I remembered the warning. Not something I'd read online. No, this was whispered to me by the former tenant Lisa in a gas station 2 towns over 6 months after she moved. I barely recognized her, pale, shaky, reeking of stale peppermint and bourbon. She had grabbed my wrist and hissed it into my ear like it was a matter of life or death. If you see your neighbors outside at 2:44 a.m., don't open the blinds. And whatever you do, don't make eye contact. At the time, I'd laughed it off, chalked her breakdown up to Glenridge burnout syndrome. But now I was frozen in my own apartment, staring at the blank blinds, knowing they were still out. There, watching, waiting, and worse, I had already made eye contact. I backed away from the blinds like they might bite me. My foot caught the corner of the coffee table, sending my half-empty mug of coffee spinning across the floor. The crash was deafening in that thick silence, but I didn't even flinch. I was too busy listening, waiting for something to happen outside. For a few seconds, nothing did. No footsteps, no turning doorknobs, no sudden knocking at my door, then a soft tap. Not on the door, on the window. Turned to face it, another tap. Same place. A slow, deliberate rhythm. 1, 2, pause. 3, pause. I didn't move, didn't breathe. Tap. I forced myself to back into the kitchen, quietly, dragging my feet to avoid making a sound. My phone was still in my hand. I stared at the screen again, 2:46 a.m., and hovered over the emergency call button. But what would I say? Hello, yes, my entire neighborhood is standing outside at night, possibly possessed, and they're tapping on my window without blinking. That wasn't gonna fly. If anything, I'd end up with a psych evaluation and a hefty bill. I texted my friend Kate instead. Hey, you up? Weird shit happening outside. Not sure if I'm being paranoid. No reply. I tried again. Please reply. This is serious. My neighbors are outside at 2:44 a.m. Not moving. Then I heard the sound of a door creaking. Not mine. I peered into the hallway that led to the entrance. Everything was still locked up, the deadbolt in place. But from somewhere outside, a house door had just opened. The sound of old hinges, slow and complaining. More footsteps now, but not toward me, away. Dozens of them. I couldn't help it. I peeled the curtain back just an inch and looked. They were walking now. All of them. In a single slow procession down the center of the street. Still not talking, still not blinking. Just going somewhere, like sleepwalkers in a funeral march. They moved in perfect silence except for the soft shuffle of feet and an occasional metallic clink, like someone dragging a chain. No phones, no lights, no shoes. I stood transfixed. Then I saw the boy, small, couldn't be more than 10, walking barefoot beside the old widow from the greenhouse. He didn't belong. His face was twisted in silent panic and his mouth moved, like he was screaming but no sound came out. His eyes were wild, scanning the houses, locking eyes with mine, and I realized something terrifying. He was awake. Not like the others, he wasn't one of them. He was trapped among them. I wanted to do something. Open the door, shout, break the trance, anything, but I didn't. Because just as I leaned forward, just as I opened my mouth to say something, the widow turned her head 90 degrees, unnatural and jerky, and looked straight at me as if she'd heard my thoughts. Her lips moved. You saw. And then they were gone. The whole crowd turned the corner at the end of Oak Ridge Avenue, disappearing into the dark like a tide pulling back. One moment they were there, the next, emptiness. Not a footprint, not a sound. The silence returned, and it was louder than before. It was 2:58 a.m. when I finally moved again. I turned every light in the apartment on, locked and relocked the door, pulled the blinds shut, shut the curtains, sat on the couch with a knife in one hand and my phone in the other, watching the second hand tick toward 3 a.m. like it was a finish line. Kate never replied. Neither did anyone else. I checked Reddit, forums, even some fringe sites. I found nothing. Not about Glenridge, not about neighbors, not about 2:44 a.m. Except one ancient thread on an archived conspiracy site, buried 8 comments deep, from a user named Sleepless Midwest. It's real. I saw them too. They walk at 2:44. If you make eye contact, you've been marked. It won't happen every night, but they'll come back. And next time, they won't just walk by. Morning came. I didn't sleep, didn't move. When I looked out the window again around 8 a.m., the street was alive with the normal bustle of suburbia. Kids on scooters, sprinklers going, mailboxes creaking open. No one remembered, or if they did, they were pretending. I saw Mr. Kelman watering his roses like nothing happened. I saw the widow walk her dog. Even the twins were arguing again on their porch, just like always. But then one of them glanced at me, the twin on the left. Just for a second, her eyes caught mine, and she smiled. Not a friendly smile, a knowing one. The smile haunted me, not just because it was so out of place. A woman who had stood in complete stillness hours earlier, now chuckling over her morning coffee, but because it held recognition. She knew what I saw. Worse, she knew I knew. I didn't leave my apartment that day. I called in sick to work with a stammered excuse about migraines, which wasn't a total lie. My head pulsed with a pressure like I was being watched from somewhere just out of sight. I kept the curtains drawn, lights on, and triple-checked the locks every hour like a ritual. I spent the day researching, not just Glenridge, myself too, going over every detail since I moved here. Was it the town, the people, or me? By noon, I had Kate on the phone. Did you get my text? I asked. Yeah, sorry, she said. Was passed out last night. You okay? I hesitated. No, I don't think I am. So I told her. Not everything, just enough to sound weird, not insane. I described the neighbors, the timing, the way they moved. Her silence stretched for longer than I liked. I know it sounds nuts, I added quickly. But something happened. I think I'm being watched. I believe you, she said quietly. That stopped me, what? She lowered her voice. I used to live near a place like that. Not Glenridge, different town, same kind of story. My dad used to call them the marked hours. He said there are moments in the night where the veil between things thins. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. And if you look too closely, she added, something on the other side looks back. That night I didn't sleep. I tried. I lay in bed with white noise blasting, melatonin dissolving, bitter on my tongue, but my eyes wouldn't close. My mind replayed the image of the boy, his silent scream, his wild eyes, as if burned behind my eyelids. At 2:43 a.m., I was already standing by the window. I didn't want to be. Something pulled at me, a tug beneath the ribs like gravity had. It flipped and the street outside was calling. This time, I didn't open the blinds. I just listened. The silence came again, sudden and complete, swallowing even the sound of my fridge humming. The air grew still. Even the dust seemed to freeze mid-fall. And then the footsteps, same rhythm, same deliberate pace. The procession had begun. I pressed my ear to the glass. I could hear them, one by one, a soft, slow drag, like bare feet across pavement, a murmur behind it, like 100 whispers just outside my range of hearing. No knocks, no taps this time. They weren't here for me, they were going somewhere else. And then I heard it, a scream, not silent, not distant, a real human scream. It tore through the quiet like a blade. I yanked the curtain open before I could stop myself. The procession was broken. People were scattering, stumbling. Lights were flickering on across the street. And there, on the corner of Bay and Willow, a young woman stood in a doorway, screaming her lungs out at something on her front lawn. It was a man, lying face down in the grass, twitching, his limbs jerked in sharp, unnatural spasms like a puppet, with tangled strings. And etched into the ground beneath him, where the dew should have been, was a dark mark, a twisted spiral burned into the grass, still steaming in the cold air. Someone grabbed her. I pulled her inside, slammed the door. The rest of the neighbors, those who'd been walking, turned as one, as if responding to a silent command. Then they moved away, just like the night before, one by one, vanishing into the shadows at the edge of town. I didn't move again until sunrise. The news said it was a seizure. The man's name was Daryl, lived 2 blocks over, early 40s, IT guy, quiet but friendly, never hurt anyone, dead by morning, cardiac arrest. No mention of the procession, no mention of the mark on the lawn, but I saw it. I know what I saw. I knew. Now that this wasn't just some random nightmare, there were rules, patterns. The clock wasn't arbitrary. AM was when it started, and if you made eye contact, if you saw too much, you became part of it, whether you wanted to or not. I found Lisa again the next day, not in person, online. She had vanished from the Glen Ridge records 6 months after she moved, but a reverse image search of an old Facebook photo led me to a cryptic YouTube video, posted to a channel with no subscribers and no context, just the title, "For Those Who Saw Them." The video was 7 minutes long. Just her, pale, wide-eyed, jittery. She was in a motel room, lights off, curtains taped shut. "I don't have long," she said, voice shaking. "If you're watching this, you saw them too." She looked over her shoulder, then back at them. "Camera, they don't come for everyone, only the ones who notice. And once they see you see them, they mark you, not all at once. It's slow, subtle. They test you, wear you down, like water dripping on stone, but eventually they take you." She leaned closer to the camera. "It's not about just seeing them. It's about remembering. Every time you do, they come back stronger. So forget, if you can, or run before it's too late." The screen went black. 7 minutes. That was all she gave the world. The video had been posted 5 years ago. The comments were disabled. The channel had been deleted. I couldn't find any trace of Lisa after that. She had either run or been taken. By the 3rd night, I had a plan. If I couldn't forget if the mark was already on me, then I had to understand it. I had to find out what they were, why they came, what they wanted. I didn't care if it made me sound crazy, because crazy people don't wake up with spirals burned into their lawns. So I stayed awake again. Coffee, lights, recorder on, camera pointed at the street. And this time, I went outside, only to the porch. I didn't go far, but I stood there silent, waiting. AM, they returned. They moved past me like I wasn't even there. Eyes unfocused, feet bare, their faces slack. But one of them stopped. The boy, the same child from the first night. He turned, walked up my steps, and looked me in the eye. This time he spoke, quietly, urgently. "You have to help me," he whispered. They took my mom. They're gonna take me." Before I could reply, something yanked him backward. An invisible force, too strong, too fast. He screamed just once, then he was gone, swallowed back into the river of the marked. And I was left, standing there alone, staring at the street where silence walked. I didn't sleep after the boy vanished. I sat on the porch steps until the sun broke over the roofs, casting long shadows that finally felt natural again. But inside me, nothing felt natural anymore. The boy's last words looped through my head, like a skipping record. "You have to help me, they took my mom." They're gonna take me. What kind of monsters could tear a child out of time and memory like that? And how the hell was I supposed to stop them? I went back inside and watched the recording from the night before. My camera had caught the procession, grainy and slow moving just like I remembered. But when the boy approached the porch, he wasn't there. In the footage, standing alone, talking to air. I rewound it 4 times. Same result. No boy, no whisper. Just me whispering to shadows. But I remembered. I heard him. I checked the time on the video. 2:44 to 2:51 a.m. Exactly 7 minutes. Same length as Lisa's warning. Something about that time limit. It wasn't coincidence. I remembered what she said in the video. They wear you down, like water dripping on stone. I was the stone, but not yet hollow. Not yet. By noon, I was driving across county lines. I didn't know where I was going until I found myself outside the Glenridge Library. The old one. The one they shut down 5 years ago when the new corporate-sponsored building opened near City Hall. Its windows were boarded, but I'd seen someone enter it a week ago. An old man with a heavy satchel and a flashlight. He moved like a creature of habit, and I was betting habits didn't die with buildings. I parked a block away and walked in the back. The padlock was rusted and loose. Inside, the smell hit me, like mold and memory, wet wood, paper, dust, and something older, like damp stone. It didn't take long to find the back room, a small archive half buried behind collapsed shelves. The lights didn't work, but I had a flashlight. I swept across the room and saw the symbol almost immediately. The spiral, etched into the floor, not recent, old, ancient even, burned into the foundation itself. I dropped to my knees and traced it with my fingers. It didn't feel like stone. It felt warm, like skin stretched too thin. There were books too, yellowed records, Glenridge town ledgers dating back to the 1800s, not digital, not preserved, hidden. I flipped through them faster and faster until I found a newspaper clipping that turned my blood to ice. February 6, 1883. Entire block of Glenridge homes abandoned overnight. Residents report processions occurring. Nightly, beginning precisely at 2:44 a.m., Sheriff John Hale found spiral-shaped burn marks on lawns and roads. Several individuals reported seeing deceased family members walking in silence before disappearing into nearby woods. No official statement has been released. I tore the page out and kept digging. A second entry from 1931 mentioned the same. Phenomenon. So did one from 1958. Always decades apart. Always in Glenridge. Always 2:44 a.m. Each time, more people vanished. Those who stayed stopped talking about it. Those who left were never found. The final entry I found was from 1999. Only the marked can see them. And once seen, the spiral begins. I returned home that evening with the clipping and an ache in my head like my brain was being kneaded between fingers. The spiral wasn't just a symbol, it was a doorway. That's what I felt in the floor. Heat, motion, and maybe something. Alive! I drew it myself that night. Not with any grand idea, just a compulsion. As soon as I finished sketching it, my head rang with static. Real, painful, audible static like a radio stuck between dead stations. Then it began, a whisper. I couldn't understand the words at first, but I knew the voice. It was the boy, not screaming this time, not panicked, just whispering over and over, a message woven into static. Follow the spiral. The gate opens at 3. She's still there. You can still get her. She, his mother. She was taken but not gone. Trapped. And now I had the map. 44 a.m. the 4th night. This time, I didn't. Just watch. I followed. I slipped out the back and tailed the procession from a distance. Close enough to keep them in sight. Far enough to avoid their notice. They walked deeper into Glenridge than I expected. Past the old church, down a disused trail behind the elementary school. No one else was out. No lights in any house flickered on. We crossed into the woods, and there, at the heart of it, they gathered in a circle around a stone well, so old it looked fossilized. In its center, another spiral, glowing faintly. They began to chant, low, guttural, but rhythmically perfect. Not in English, not in any language I'd heard before. The kind of sound you feel before you interpret. Then something rose from the spiral, a shape. No, not a shape. A hole, a wound in space, and from it something stepped forward. Not a person. It was tall, long-limbed, and shifting. its body a flicker between forms, like it couldn't decide what to be. Faces blinked in and out of its surface like trapped souls screaming behind frosted glass. The neighbors bowed. The thing turned and looked at me. I ran. No plan, no thought, just instinct. Branches tore at my clothes. I didn't stop until I burst into my apartment, heart trying to escape my chest. I locked the door, slid to the floor, and stared at the spiral I had drawn. Earlier, it was changing. The lines writhed slowly, almost imperceptibly, like they were alive, breathing on the page. And in the center now, something new had appeared. A hand reaching out. Her hand, the boy's mother. You can still get her. The words wouldn't leave me. They hissed from the spiral on the page, from the static in my ears, from the dark places between heartbeats. It wasn't just a message, it was a summons. The next night, I drew the spiral again, but this time not from memory. I carved it right into the wooden floor of my apartment. The lines pulsed as I worked, bleeding, not blood, but light. A dull crimson glow, like an old wound reopening. The moment the final curve closed, I heard the boy's voice again. Midnight's the veil, 3 is the door, but the price is what you carry back. And just like that, I knew what I had to do. I prepared like someone going to war. Flashlight, knife, recorder, the newspaper clippings, Lisa's video saved to my phone. I texted Kate and told her only one thing. If I don't come back, don't look for me. Don't look at all. At 2:43 a.m., I stood barefoot in the center of the spiral I had carved. When the clock turned 2:44, the silence arrived like a hammer. The lights flickered, then died, but this time, I didn't need them. The spiral beneath me opened. It didn't shatter or collapse. It peeled like skin turning itself inside out. A wind howled up from below, and my body tilted without moving, and then I fell. It was not like falling through air. There was no weight, no wind. It felt like slipping between seconds, like time itself folded me inward. I hit ground eventually, but the place I stood wasn't Glenridge anymore. It looked like it had been. But everything was wrong. The houses leaned too tall. The windows blinked like eyes. The trees breathed. And the sky, if it could be called that, was a void of dull orange light, rippling like liquid fire behind a spiderweb veil. This was the under Glenridge, the reflection beneath the spiral. And I was not alone. They were everywhere, the marked. Those who had walked at 2:44 a.m. But here they didn't move in procession. They skittered, twitched. Some walked backward, some in loops. Some whispered in corners to things I couldn't see. Their eyes were hollow, their mouths stitched shut by spirals. One of them turned toward me, a woman. Her face half erased, but her eyes wide with terror. She mouthed a single word, "Run!" But I didn't run, because across the road, I saw her, the boy's mother. She was standing just outside a fractured house, half consumed by the earth. She looked alive, barely. Her skin flickered in and out like poor reception. I crossed the street. Each step felt like moving through syrup and screams. She saw me. Her eyes widened. "You're real," she whispered. "I came for you." He tried to take my son," she gasped. "He marked me to get to him." "Who is he?" But I already knew the answer. The entity, the one that rose from the spiral in the woods, wasn't just some creature. It was the spiral. An intelligence that fed on awareness, on attention, on the act of remembering. It couldn't survive in the daylight. It couldn't cross over without help. So it watched. It waited for the ones who looked too long. And once you saw it, it saw you. The mother reached for me. "Take my hand," she said. "We don't have long. You're still warm." "What?" "You're still alive." The ground beneath us cracked. The spiral had noticed. The sky split open, and from it descended the thing, no longer flickering, no longer shifting. It had chosen a shape, my shape. It stood 10 feet tall, wearing my face like a broken mirror with thousands of spiral glyphs etched into its skin. "You're not supposed to be here," it said in my voice. I raised the knife. It laughed. "You think that matters? I'm already inside you. You brought me back the second you drew the door." He lunged. I slashed, not at him, at the spiral on the ground, the one still pulsing, glowing beneath my feet, the one that opened the way. The blade struck wood. The spiral screamed, not out loud, in my head, and the scream tore everything apart. I woke up in my living room gasping. It was morning sunlight, real golden light. Birds outside, sirens in the distance. I sat up, heart pounding. The spiral was gone. No mark, no blood, no glow. Just scorched wood where it had once been. My phone buzzed. A message from a number I didn't know. You brought her back, but he still watches. Do not draw again. Lisa? I opened my front door. Across the street, a woman I'd never seen before walked her son to the curb. Same boy, same eyes. But they didn't recognize me. They were free, and I was not. That night, I slept with the lights on, but I didn't hear the procession. Not at 2:44, not at all. The spiral had closed, but deep in my chest, I felt it turning still, slowly, quietly. And in my dreams, I saw my face smiling, waiting, watching. Her lips moved again. He tried to take my son. Her voice was paper thin, a whisper trying to survive in a place that devoured sound. I stepped closer. The air around her shimmered like heat rising from pavement. My stomach turned. Air was wrong here, thicker, tasting of ash and old grief. He marked me to get to him, she continued. Oh, that's how it works. The spiral doesn't hunt children. It hunts through them. It uses the love we can't hide. I didn't speak. I just listened. Something told me there wasn't much time left. He needed an anchor in your world, she said, her voice breaking. Someone to carry him across. Who is he? I asked. But deep down, I already knew. The spiral wasn't just a pattern. It wasn't just a symbol. It was a being, something old, something that lived in attention, in memory, in awareness. You see it? It sees you. Once you notice it, she said, you feed it. You think it's a story, a hallucination, a secret. But that's the trap. Because the moment you try to understand it, she placed her hand over her heart. It plants itself here. And then it grows. A sound echoed from the end of the street. A creaking like an old door swinging open. No wind, no footsteps. Just inevitability. He knows you're here, she whispered. The sky began to split open again. A spiral. Not drawn, not carved, but torn into the clouds above. Light spilled down like molten glass. And from that spiral, something began to descend. First a shadow, then limbs, then a face. It was my face. Warped, twisted, etched with spirals where my eyes and mouth should be. It smiled. You drew the door, it said in my voice, but stretched and cracked. You broke the rules. And now I'm real. I stepped in front of her, the mother she tried to stop me. You're still warm, she said. You haven't fully crossed. You can still go back. I'm not leaving you here. You don't understand, she whispered, tears forming in her static flickering eyes. This place doesn't let go. You have to trade something. He'll ask for it. What? She hesitated. Your name, your memory, your face. The spiral's form dropped to the ground behind me with a sickening silence. It didn't walk. It flowed forward like ink underwater. You are mine, it said. Your thoughts, your fear, your story. I will live in the retelling. I gripped the knife, not to fight, but to do what had to be done. The spiral wore my face, but the eyes, they were hollow tunnels swirling inward with no end. Its smile was too wide, too smooth, like skin stretched across someone else's skull. And when it spoke, it wasn't with sound, it was with memory. Suddenly I was a child again, alone in the dark, staring into a closet door that wouldn't stay shut. You've brought her back, it whispered inside my head. You felt her. Fear. You gave it shape. That's how I crossed. I turned to the boy's mother. Is there a way to stop it? Her face blurred, breaking into pixels like an old photograph burning in reverse. You can't stop it, she said. You can only contain it, bind it again. How? She looked at me with eyes full of pity and guilt. You already know. You made the spiral. You opened the way. You must close it. Behind me, the spiral raised its hand. A second spiral bloomed across its chest, spinning faster and faster. My breath caught. The world bent around us, and I felt my own thoughts starting to spiral, memories slipping away. Lisa's voice, the boy's scream, the procession at 2:44, all fading, like someone was slowly erasing my identity line by line. Stop! I shouted. The knife in my hand began to heat up. Not physically, but emotionally, like it was tied to something far deeper. The mother grabbed my arm. "He'll take your name," she said. "That's the price. But if you offer it willingly, you can bind him for now." My mouth went dry. My name, the spiral, stepped closer. It towered above us now, glitching and pulsing with every breath I took. It was becoming me, feeding on me. I remembered the boy's words. Midnights, the veil, 3 is the door, but the price is what you carry back. "I won't let you wear me," I said, voice shaking. "I won't be your story." And then I did the only thing I could. I carved the spiral again, right into my own palm. A perfect loop, drawn in blood and will. The spiral screamed, a soundless psychic wail that bent the buildings and made the sky ripple like shattered glass. "I offer it," I said through clenched teeth. "My name, my reflection. Take it and leave hers." The moment the blood spiral completed, the light collapsed inward. The spiral lunged for me, but froze mid-air. The glyphs across his face shattered like mirrors. And then it sank, howling back into the spiral on my hand, and vanished. The mother collapsed beside me, fading, flickering. "You did it," she said weakly. "You turned the door into a cage. But what now?" She smiled, tears streaming down fading cheeks. "You'll forget, slowly, not everything, just you." The world around us began to disintegrate, folding like paper set aflame from the corners inward. My name, my face, my voice unwritten. I woke up on the living room floor. The spiral I'd carved was gone. No blood, no knife, just dust and silence. The clock read 2:45 a.m. and for a second, I thought maybe I dreamed the whole thing, but when I stood up and walked past the mirror near the hallway, I didn't see anyone looking back, not a shadow, not a face, not even a blur, just nothing. Like I wasn't real anymore. I reached up and touched my cheek, warm, solid. I could feel myself, but the reflection had been erased. That's when I noticed something else, a piece of paper under the door, folded once. No name, no writing, just a perfect hand-drawn spiral. And beneath it, you carried it back. Now they will find you. I tried to remember my name. Nothing. Tried to remember why I started drawing spirals in the first place. Nothing. Even my voice when I spoke aloud sounded unfamiliar, like I was speaking someone else's story. The next day I walked through Glenridge. Everyone was normal, too normal. The neighbors waved like they'd never seen me before. The boy's house was empty. No police tape, no signs of trauma. Like he never existed. Or maybe he was never meant to leave, and I was never meant to return. That night I dreamed of a hallway that never ended. A spiral burned into the sky above. And every time I turned around, I saw myself walking just a few steps behind me, smiling, watching, waiting. I leave my lights off now. I don't own mirrors. And I never look out the window at 2:44 a.m. Not anymore. Because if I do, he might remember me. And if he remembers, he'll come back through me. If you think the story ends here, think again. Some horrors don't fade when the screen goes dark. They just begin.